I know everyone's having such a great time networking, but if you could take your seats, we want to go ahead and continue with the next panel. We cannot thank all of you enough, our presenters, our attendees, both here in person and virtually, for being here for the Cervical Cancer Summit 2024. I do want to let you know that, and I'm sure you know this, we can't do this without our sponsors. So if you would please direct your attention to the screen, we do have a brief message from one of our generous sponsors, Hologic.
As she brings new life into the world, as she grows proud and independent, as she discovers new love, as she faces health challenges that interrupt her life. At Hologic, we are driven by a passion to be the leading innovator in women's health, to bring the promise of the science of SURE to life. We are forever committed to delivering innovations that address the broad spectrum of breast, cervical, gynecologic, body composition, skeletal, perinatal, and sexual health issues women and men face as life unfolds. At Hologic, our purpose is to enable healthier lives everywhere.
Please join me in welcoming our next moderator to the stage, Dr. Cindy Trice, a cervical cancer survivor, a veterinarian with over 18 years of experience, and the co-founder and chief innovation officer of Pajamas. After receiving treatment for advanced cervical cancer, Dr. Trice founded Pajamas, a company that designs sleepwear, clothing, and other accessories for women battling cancer. With a mission to help kick cancer off the planet, a portion of the company's sales goes to patient support and research organizations. Dr. Trice's entrepreneurial spirit and dedication to helping others have made her a respected figure in both the veterinary and cancer support communities. Let's give her a warm welcome as she takes the stage.
Thank you, everyone. Am I using, this is, okay. Thank you, everyone. This summit is amazing, as was the first summit I went to last year, and I'm sure the ones before that. So I'm very excited to introduce our panel. And hang on, because I have too many things in my hand, and I can't read without readers anymore, like at all. So we have two of our panelists are in person with us today, and we have two that are joining us virtually. So in person, we have Ann Roddick, the Senior Director of Global Women's Health and Strategic Partnerships with Hologic. Ann, if you could join us. And then we also have in person Krista Mitch. She has a doctorate in as a nurse practitioner, and she's the Women's Health Clinical Manager, Diagnostic Solutions with Becton Dickinson. And virtually joining us is Jenny Zhang, the Senior Medical Director of Medical Affairs at Seagen. And we also have Dr. Angela Baldwin. She is the Pathology Liaison, Medical and Scientific Affairs with Roche Diagnostics. Thank you very much for joining us. It always feels funny to, I feel like I need to look at them this way, but I don't know where they can see me from. So actually, if we could have you all just tell us one by one what you do with your company and give us some more detail than what I was able to do in the introduction. So Ann, we'll start with you.
Okay, hi everybody. Again, I'm Ann Roddick, Senior Director of Global Women's Health at Hologic. Tamika, this is amazing. I tell you this every time I go to one of these summits or Survivor School. Thank you for all you do. This truly is amazing. And I learn something new every time I go. So thank you for that. I have had the pleasure of working with Hologic since 1997. I was in the very first thin prep pap test training class years ago. And this was new technology. It was just something I was like, okay, well, I'll give it 6 months. We'll see what happens. Here I am 27 years later and love this company so much. I was, again, the rep for Thin Prep. Then I went on to be a surgical rep. And then in 2007, I took this position as an advocacy and global women's health. And my job is to work with patient groups and physician medical groups. And I've never looked back a day since I started this position. It is just the most fulfilling and rewarding job anybody could ever have.
Yeah, Krista.
Is this on? Can everyone hear me? So I'm Krista Mitch, and as she said, so I am a nurse practitioner. I made the move over to BD about a year ago as a women's health clinical manager. And one of my roles, one of my priorities is to connect with patient advocacy groups, professional societies, to really understand the best way we can message to patients and healthcare providers in order to make sure that we're getting the best diagnostics out there to help eradicate cervical cancer.
And Jenny?
Hello from Seattle. Great to see everybody sort of in the room. So my name is Jenny Zhang. I am the Senior Medical Director on one of our cervical cancer programs where we are developing new therapies for treatment of advanced recurrent metastatic cervical cancer. It's been wonderful to be part of this community. I personally am very, very touched and I've been in this space for 5 years at this point, really working closely with all of you, with the Survivor community, as well as with our patients, nurses, caregivers, and physicians in trying to bring new therapies for our patients. We used to be part of Seagen when we started our great collaboration and relationship with all of you. And recently we were acquired by Pfizer. So now we have to say that Seagen, now part of Pfizer, but our commitment to all of you, our commitment to our cervical cancer community continues as we become bigger and more powerful and hopefully are able to work with you to bring more therapies to our patients.
Thanks, Jenny. And Dr. Baldwin.
Hi, everyone. My name is Angela Baldwin, and thank you so much for having me here today. It's a real pleasure to be here. I guess by way of background, I was previously a forensic pathologist in Manhattan before transferring to Roche. And I got to tell you, working with live people is so much better. I'm really enjoying it. So in my role as a pathologist, I actually go around teaching other pathologists how to use our diagnostic tools. And so that way we can ensure that every pathologist is adequately screening patients to make sure that they get the treatment that they're eligible for. And particularly in my role, I deal with all different types of oncology. So I'm very excited to have this opportunity to focus with this particular group with cervical cancer today. So thank you so much for having me here.
Thank you for sharing all that. And it's so exciting to have a group of people. We have government representatives, we have patients, we have advocates, and we have industry all in the same room. And as Dr. Young pointed out this morning, it takes everyone, right, to move the needle. So I would love for each of you to answer what your company's commitment is to cervical cancer specifically, and how you help Survivor as well. Anyone want to volunteer to go first?
I'll go.
Okay, Anne, thank you.
So part of Hologic's mission statement is to have purpose, passion, and promise. And I will say in the 27 years that I've been with this company, I have never been disappointed at all. It's the purpose is there. There's so many, the passion is there. The promise of new technology, new innovation across all of our business units is just in constant motion. So I would just say that is, and as far as Survivor, I love this society. It's one of my favorite. And I think what Tamika has done and has brought to light the need for cervical cancer screening, education, the need for treatment. What she's done is incredible. And again, in 1997, this was just something you didn't talk about. And now I see the progress that's been made, and I've been so happy to be on this journey with Tamika and friends.
Krista, you want to share with us?
Yeah, sure. So I think something that I've heard a few different times today is that over the past decade, the statistics for cervical cancer have remained largely unchanged when it comes to not only disease burden, but mortality. And I think that that's really a call to action to change this narrative. And I think BD, I know BD is committed to helping to change that narrative in a way that we can help to eliminate cervical cancer, hopefully in our lifetimes. We know it's a largely preventable cancer through vaccination and adequate screening, and through diagnostics. Understanding which HPV type that you have, I think really better informs proactive care before you would even see changes on a pap smear. And I also think it also has to do with innovations in care delivery models. So a commitment to trying to meet individuals where they're at so that we can bridge the gap with screening equity, whether that be through self-collection or things of that nature.
Yeah, thank you. That it is so important. And I feel like just the changes that have happened since I had cancer in 2004 have been tremendous, but exactly, we have a lot of work to do to move those statistics and move those numbers. Yeah, Jenny.
I'll take it a little bit spin, and I totally agree with Krista and also some of the earlier comments this morning on how cervical cancer really is one of the cancers that's curable if they're diagnosed early. It's preventable for a lot of women, young women today, who've had the opportunity to get vaccination. We are still dealing with a group of us that unfortunately had either missed vaccination, may have had the unfortunate chance of having still recurrent metastatic diseases, etc. So we do still need treatments for all of us. When I started in cancer research 15 years ago, I was trained in breast cancer research, where the statistics looked really bad. If you look at today, what the amount of research that has gone into developing newer therapies, most women, even with stage 4 breast cancer, are alive 7 years, 10 years with their diagnosis. It's part of our lives, and they're able to live very normal lives. So our commitment certainly is to bring breakthrough to changing lives. And we hope that we can, even for those unfortunate of us who may be still battling with symptoms, with disease, we're still able to live a life that we can enjoy, that we can hope to extend lives, extend quality lives for that. So that's our commitment on the other end, to make sure that while we are curing patients, we are preventing diseases, that we still have hope and options for our patients, even those that unfortunately had to progress there. So one of our therapies that we're developing is a novel mechanism of action that we call antibody drug conjugate. It is something that targets the tumor cells, that delivers what we historically would have known as some sort of cytotoxic or chemotherapy agent, so that we can kill those tumor cells specifically. And so we have an indication for our recurrent metastatic cervical cancer patients to hopefully also improve and extend their lives.
That's great. That's great news for the current patients and future patients out there, which hopefully we will have less and less over time until there's no more 2024. And Dr. Baldwin.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, so as a global company, we are committed to eradicating cancer across the globe. And I would say that we've done this in several ways, but really we have these innovative techniques in order to diagnose precancerous lesions as well as cancerous lesions. In particular, I'm really excited about our Syntec Plus product, which is an innovative dual stain triage method for HPV positive women. And I'd love to go into more detail on that later. But basically, we recognize that there's a connection between guidelines and uptake in clinical practice and then insurance coverage. So we work very closely with party payers, other payers, to make sure that the insurance will reimburse for these products which can save lives and improve quality of life. Also, similar to what was mentioned before, we're also very invested in self-collection, and we brought this solution to many countries outside of the United States. And we're currently in discussion with the FDA right now on bringing the solution to the US. But we do recognize that it's going to take a broader effort to integrate this technique into the care journey once it is approved by the FDA. And towards that end, we do work with group leaders such as those in Cervivor to ensure that this innovation is actually helpful in what can be a confusing screening process and protocol for people. So we kind of take a multi-player approach here, and not only creating new diagnostic tools, making sure those diagnostic tools are paid for, making sure that people have access to these tools, working with government, working with payers, and really just kind of taking a holistic approach to eradicate cancer across the globe.
Thank you. Yeah, I was really intrigued by the conversations today about how we get from, it's really a circle: innovation, guidelines, insurance companies, and how we can make that process move quicker, safely, to save more lives and to diagnose earlier and help prevent. So thank you for that. Okay, is there one takeaway that you would like for our attendees to know? Do you have like a big point you'd like to make? This is your opportunity.
Maybe I can start, Cindy, this time. Much of our newer treatments, and I'm sure it applies to Angela and to Anne and to the others as well, is that as we develop therapies, what we really love to know is how our patients are experiencing as they go through treatments. Your opinions, survivors, as an organization, has been a great partner for us to help us understand this as we design clinical studies, as we try to understand beyond the traditional what FDA or regulatory agencies may consider as relevant endpoints, what are the things that really impact our patients and how we go through this treatment process. So we would love to have patient voices built into our study designs. We would love to understand what are some of the relevant endpoints, relevant questions we should be asking as we design studies and as we try to investigate and develop newer therapies for all of us.
Thanks, Jenny.
And I would really like to echo what Jenny just said. I do think that as an industry partner, it's really important for us to understand the patient perspective, because at the end of the day, the patient is at the end of everything we do. That's why we do what we do. So to understand how we can better get our message out, how we can better treat you, any ideas that you have, I would love to hear feedback, because that's what we're looking for. We want to make sure we're meeting the needs of patients.
I agree. I mean, we have to have your feedback. And if I can just leave with one message, don't give up hope ever, because behind the scenes, industry is busy every day in the R&D departments, coming up with new technologies, new advances in treatment. It's incredible if you go behind the scenes in these industry labs and see what they're doing. So don't give up hope and just hang in there.
Yeah, and I'll echo that and say that we definitely are listening. I mean, here at Roche, we even had, for last Cervical Cancer Awareness Month, they had me doing TikTok videos because they heard that, that this is what people are listening to. This is where people go for some information. So I was on screen with my dog, educating about cervical cancer awareness. So, these are things, regardless of how small the idea is, we are listening. And I guess to add to that, as we all know, HPV is the driver of cervical cancer. And so I would just want to say that as a reminder to keep, to encourage you, I guess, to keep empowering your communities with information about this connection. Talk to your mom and your aunt and your cousin, sister, and anyone with a cervix, and encourage these individuals to ask what screening methods are being offered to them, and if they will have access to primary HPV screening. As I'm sure has been explained before, really primary screening where we're looking at HPV, not only whether you're positive or negative, but whether you have that high risk type that's going to make you more likely to progress to cancer, is really a game changer. And there's so many people who are kind of relegated to just kind of the old school path. And speaking as a pathologist, I can say that looking under a microscope and looking at cells that are kind of and we call them that, which means atypical cells of atypical squamous cells of undetermined significance, meaning we're not quite sure, right? Because these cells are not always reading the textbook. So when we have access to things such as primary screening, which gives us much more definitive answers, it really helps if patients push for that. So empower those around you to ask for that and to demand it, because really we are our own best advocates.
Well, and just to add to that too, I would just encourage you to continue to get your PAP and your HPV screening, because if you have 2 tests, we know that that's proven. So for now, until everything is FDA approved, I think that if you continue to get your PAP and HPV test, that would be a great thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you for all those great points. And Dr. Baldwin, thank you for your TikTok presence. We talked about that in one of our other talks about how do we get, the information out to people of all of these wonderful things that you all are doing, that all these amazing organizations. And the fact is that many people are getting this kind of information on TikTok. And I will say, as a veterinarian, dogs will get attention. So if you can't put your dog in your TikTok, do so. So does anyone have any questions from the audience or the panel? Does the panel have any questions for the audience? We don't usually do that, but maybe we should.
Self-collection for COVID tests help move the needle. Like you expect the public to be able to handle a normal.
I personally think that the COVID self-collect really did help shape the market. I think it proves that people are capable of testing themselves, and that if we can bring the test to the patient, more patients are going to get tested. So if we can bridge that gap of the underscreened, I think that would be huge. It would have an enormous impact on not only the disease burden, but also mortality rates, because we know most cervical cancers often develop in those that are underscreened. So getting to that population is of the utmost importance.
Thank you so much to our panel and our moderator. We so appreciate it. If you have any additional questions, please place them in the parking lot and we will try and get those addressed for you. Thank you so much.